Not that kind of tea bag. Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we have a cocktail video coming at you. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I was recently in Chicago and I ran into a rep for this company called Know Me. By the way, this video is not sponsored, and if these are not good, I will tell you they are not good, trust me. But essentially what they're doing is they give you these little bags and some things, and you can pre-mix your cocktails sort of like the way you would make tea. You just put the spirit in there, and you put this little bag and these other things in, and then you pour it into a glass. And this has 3 cocktails. One is the Yuzu Gin Spritzer, one is the Matcha Whiskey Highball, and the other is the Hibiscus Rum Cooler. All sound like very fun and refreshing cocktails. And so I'm going to do all 3 of these. We're not going to be doing the mixing here because the way they show you doing it on here I don't particularly like, so I'm going to kind of do it my own way, and I'll explain that when we bring them out. But basically we're going to have 3 cocktails, and the only ingredient that I'm going to provide is just the spirit. Here it says, well, I'll get into more what it says in here kind of when we actually have the cocktails ready to pour. But I think it's interesting, we've done canned cocktails and pre-mixed cocktails before, so now we're doing teabag cocktails, so sure. So when we get back, we will have some mixing glasses or shakers. They will have the spirit ready to go, and we will dump those and try them. And I think this is going to be kind of an interesting experience, so stick with us. Okay, and we are back. I have now had these steeping for just under 5 minutes. We got our timer set up here. It's going to go off in just a couple seconds. So on my left, we have our Yuzu Gin Spritzer. Now it describes these each as having the flavor of a specific area. They're all Asian. The first is Tokushima, Japan, and that is the Yuzu Gin Spritzer. In the middle, we have our Matcha Whiskey Highball that is inspired by Kyoto, Japan. And the Hibiscus Rum Cooler is inspired by Taitung, Taiwan. I've never been to those places, so I can't tell you if they taste like those, but I can't tell you whether they're good or not. There's our alarm. All right, so these have now been steeping for 5 minutes. Again, like I said, I'm not doing these exactly as it talks about in the book, but I think this is probably going to be the best thing for me. I don't really like cocktails that are too watered down. I should actually mention, so it tells you to basically just do these in the glass. So you put your liquor in the glass and you put ice in it, you let it steep for 5 minutes, and then you add the garnishes. I'm adding the garnishes in here so they kind of get the flavor picked up. But it asks you to put in 1.5 ounces of liquor. We're gonna go 2 ounces, 3 ounces of water. I think that's too much. So I did 2 ounces of spirit and a half an ounce of water. Now there's going to be more than a half an ounce of water in here because obviously the ice is going to melt a little bit and add a little bit more dilution. We're going to start off with our gin spritzer. We're just going to single strain that into, for some reason I'm doing wild turkey glasses today. Not sure why. And we are just going to drop 1 big ice cube in there, make sure it stays nice and cool. And just turn the cube in there once. Alright, and next, our Matcha Whiskey Highball. The color change is the most apparent in our second 2, obviously. That comes out to a color that I'm not sure people are going to like that color a lot. Has a very dark green color. But the proof is in the flavor, so we'll decide on that. And finally, our Hibiscus Rum Cooler. We are going to double strain that on into the third of our 3 wild turkey glasses. And just for the record, I used Plymouth Gin, I used Old Ezra Bourbon, and I used Bacardi 8-Year Rum. Alright, so there we have our Yuzu Gin Spritzer, our Matcha Whiskey Highball, and our Hibiscus Rum Cooler. I think we're going to start with our gin. think I'm gonna come back in and add a little bit of water because the flavors are pretty concentrated. So 1 second, please. All right, so I came back through and added an extra ounce of water into each one of these. When I first tasted that gin spritzer, I think that Teabag definitely does contain a lot of concentrated flavors. So I didn't go all the way up to the 3 ounces like they suggest, but I think a half an ounce was a little bit light. That's pretty good. It's got a nice sour note to it. It's very vegetal. It's relatively complex. This might be a little sour for some people. Again, you could add a little bit more water, that would dilute it down just a little bit. For me, I think 1.5 ounces in this one is just perfect. It's kind of, I mean, like a lot of gin cocktails, I feel like all spirits kind of have their season, and I think gin is a very springy kind of a spirit, and so this would be very nice in springtime. That's good. Again, if you're sensitive to sour, maybe add a little bit more water, or maybe allow it a little bit less time to steep. Now this one, okay, we drink with our eyes, just like we eat with our eyes. That is not a cocktail that I would be super happy to get, I'm sorry to say. Again, there's nothing to say about the flavor. This might taste fantastic. That is just something I would probably, I don't know. Maybe it's me. All right, this is again our matcha whiskey highball. Okay, this is a lot more subtle. So I went through and added, so if you do this on your own, kind of step up your water a little bit over time to kind of figure out where you're at for your flavor profile. The ounce of water feels like maybe it was a little bit too much. The flavor is good. It feels very kind of earthy. It's very subtle. Again, kind of more vegetal notes here too. Like in there, but no sourness, or it may be a very, very tiny bit of sourness. Not a bad cocktail. So on your gin version of this, I would err on the side of more water. This one I would err on the side of less water, I think. Because that tastes a little bit, just a little more diluted than I think probably should be. Definitely I'll go 3 ounces in this. But yeah, that's not bad at all. Finally, our hibiscus rum cooler. This is probably the one that I'm looking forward to the most. So let's see how it goes. Really subtle, very subtle. Here I don't think this is too much water. The flavors there are good. I think it's just a little, it needs something, I think honestly this would do great with like maybe just a half an ounce of lemon juice. I think that would really set that off, or maybe lime juice. It feels like it's missing just a little bit something. Yeah, I feel like just a little bit of citrus juice in there would really improve that. So we've tasted all 3 of these. Again, this is Nomi, I think. There's their thing. I think they're onto something because they're using, it seems like they're using pretty good dry ingredients that are things that you can have sitting on the shelf for a long time. And I think they're definitely on the right track. I think probably the gin cocktail is the best. These guys could use a little bit of work. Again, the flavors in both are good, but they feel very subtle. And especially, I feel like in our rum cocktail, it's missing that sort of citrus bite at the end of it. It just feels like it kind of disappears at the end. Not bad, just not. I don't know, if you're somebody who likes a really subtle kind of easy drinking cocktail, that will probably do all right for you. I just feel like it's a little bit less than it could be. But on that bombshell, before we actually close out, I'm interrupting myself ending this show. I think one of the things that's kind of the elephant in the room with this is the idea behind this, and the idea behind canned cocktails and pre-mixed cocktails is that you don't want to go through the trouble of mixing a drink. You just want to pour something and have it ready to go. So I think the other question on these, aside from the fact of are they good, and I think yes, sort of, and with some additions could be, are these easier than just making a drink? And I can't really say it is. Now, if you make them the prescribed way, where you just basically take your 8-ounce glass, toss in your spirit, toss in everything, toss in your ice, let it sit for 5 minutes and sip it. I mean, you're still taking 5 minutes to have a drink, plus you have to toss everything into a glass. It is marginally easier than mixing a standard cocktail, but I don't think significantly so. So I think, again, for me, I think our gin spritzer, I think that's probably worth it. The other two, I don't know if I think I would probably just, you know, if you have a home bar, just mix your own drink, and I think that's going to be just as good because you can kind of change it up a little bit. But now, back to Mike. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a good drink, and have a good day.
Have a good drink and have a good day.